Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Friends, I am so excited to be now in Women's History Month and being able to honor and recognize the power and definition of her story, how we do things, how we've done things historically, how we have reclaimed our narrative to forge new paths for ourselves now, and what the future will look like for our girlies who will become young women and senior women, and how we get to pioneer paths. So happy Women's History Month to you, to me, to all of us, and to my guest today, Aseanté Renee. How are you?
I am fabulous. I'm doing well. I'm doing
You
well.
just look so beautiful. Like this
Oh,
glow is,
thank
it's
you.
everything. It's
It's
everything.
called rest.
Get into it. I love it.
Rest, rest, water, and no.
Listen. Oh my goodness. How about that? How about we don't need to pay for any more under eye gels, creams? How about we just need to say no, get some rest, and drink 3 liters of water minimum a day, and thank God for every new dawn. How about that? So I'm so excited, great girlfriends, because we literally met in France. And this is so funny. We met last June in France, and it was just like we turned and said hi. And
Mhm,
I started to talk to you, and I felt a sense of peace and calm and
mhm,
certainty um, that if you're in crowded rooms with lots of people, different styles, you can always appreciate the sage, right? And so I
mhm.
felt that sense of sage
Thank
upon
you.
meeting you and groundedness, and I got a quick glimpse into who you were. And then I learned a little bit more about the work that you do. So, great girlfriends, I'm excited to bring to you just her bio really quickly. And just we want to dive into a question about, I mean, a conversation about how we make these pivots, how we um, have these pivotal moments in our careers and in our lives where we need to have the courage to say yes or no, set a new boundary, or try or chart a new path, but do it with bravery and with authenticity. And so, no one better than you, because you have an amazing campaign called Retiring Superwoman. But I also
Mhm.
want to talk about who you are. I read here that you help people create lives that they don't need to escape. I'm just going to raise my hand and say, sign me up for the platinum package. Okay. As a
Got you.
as a licensed therapist and international speaker and founder and chief officer of the Axon Group, an industry-leading transformative coaching firm, Ashante focuses on pathways to sustainable growth and healing, because no one has time to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We all know that that is called insanity. In practice, she's an executive and performance coach with over 2 decades of experience in trauma-informed care and social justice reform. Much of her expertise lives at the intersection of healing, wellness, leadership, and career advancement. She is also the founder of the Susu House, a nonprofit that elevates healing equity and, oh my God, that's good, and access while eliminating financial barriers to people of the global majority through sponsored retreats, workshops, trainings, and community events. Because money shouldn't be a hindrance to healing. I like that. I want to stop there. There's so many partnerships, so many series. You've done so many retreats. Um,
Oh,
so much empowering work to be a bridge for healing for so many people. Our community needs it more now than I think we ever thought we would, right? I think we are all like, okay, wait, did the world turn on its back? Like, what just happened? And help,
what
send,
dimension am I in right now? I would like to opt out. I would like to reset. Take me out the group chat. I want to start over.
I want to start over. I don't want to have the cape again this year. I don't want to be the
Mhm,
strong one. I don't want to do all the things, but I think we
mhm.
continually get called to the carpet. Why is that?
Oh, okay. Well, the reason let me start with the reason I created Retiring Superwoman is because the end of 2023, going into 2024, I was exhausted.
Hmm.
And I traditionally start my new year in February, not in January, because January needs to be a prep month. Like I did all the things and planned all the stuff and hosted the stuff for the holidays. Like I can't jump into January planning my new year, new me.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
just not that. I need a month to prep. Leave me alone. I'll start in February. And I realized I was burned out. I was completely burned out. And there, I just would not give myself permission to one, acknowledge that, and two, do something about it. And it really got me to thinking about, where do I place my value? Why is having to create and produce so valuable to me? And for those of us that, especially those of us that have any type of enslaved lineage, our value, our output, and our productivity, that is where our value was. Literally, we were only as valuable as what we could create. And that has continued over generation and generation and generation, to the point where, on some level, we have internalized that. And so we then hold it as this cape, as this superhero. I am superwoman. I was like, in all actuality, that cape is choking you. That cape is killing you.
Yes.
But that is where we have put our value, right? We are either the corporate mammy or the fixer. We create problems, or we solve problems we didn't create. We come up with solutions for things that had nothing to do with us. And we are expected to do so. Like, there is this phrase, if you want something done right, get a Black woman to do it. That's actually insulting, because that means that's all we're actually good for, which is a deep, deep problem. And so that is where the Retiring Superwoman campaign came from. That's where this understanding that we need to look at our value differently. We need to look at who actually benefits from us holding these capes, who actually um, is allowed to have this freedom in this space where we don't, and what that means for us.
Mm. That sounds like, what some have described as trauma DNA, where, it's part of like you and we struggle with probably, well, I'm gonna say you, but I'll call myself out and say that I do struggle with the validation of being as enough. And
Mm-hmm,
understanding that if I'm not constantly putting out something, if I'm not producing, I'm still okay. I'm still valuable. So that was something I have continually had to evolve into, because I did come up. I was raised to think that performance was the way that that you were proven valuable.
mm-hmm.
Even, come home with the good grades, you did great. If you tried, it wasn't enough. Girl, you better go back and get your A. There it was just that was how I was raised.
Same. As a recovering perfectionist,
Yeah.
same.
Yes.
And the thing I want to note to that, it isn't incorrect because of the society that we're in. Like, yeah, value, and you have to go back and do better, and the whole, you have to be twice as good to get half as far. Like, that is the society that we are in. And so our parents doing that and pushing that, and giving that language to us, it's not incorrect. It's just incomplete. Yes, those
Mm.
things are necessary for us to be successful in what this society has deemed as successful. Those things are not necessary for us to be valuable. And unfortunately, they have been conflated. And so our work is to unconflate. I'm making up words. Our work is to, unconflate those two
Yeah.
things, right? So it's not incorrect what they were telling us. It's just incomplete.
Yeah.
Success, yes, all these things are needed. Our value, no, not so much.
Mm. So I want to touch on that, and I want to kind of lean into a moment that we're having as Black women
Mm-hmm,
and just women, period. But in social media, founder Lisa Price recognized and acknowledged that she has now reclaimed ownership of Carol's daughter, and she is
yes.
operating as president of her company. And she's incredibly thrilled and excited. And she spoke about having 10 years of education and learning and support from
Mm-hmm.
L'Oreal. And now in this new chapter, jumping back into entrepreneurship. And so, um, when I look at those moves that she's making, and she has been a pioneer, she has been a force,
Mm-hmm.
she has paved the way from her kitchen table to, the top levels in beauty. She has been an advocate for us, championing us and supporting and believing in us. And she has set that example. I see that we need more of those examples of women who are saying, when a difficult choice needs to be made, I'm willing to make it, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
it looks like on the outside, no matter whether or not it defies societal norms, cultural norms. People will agree to disagree. People will say yes, no, maybe. They will have opinions, but I am moving in the best interest of what my legacy needs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
sort of the completion of the value point? Meaning, yes, we do work, and it is only valuable if it's ensuring the preservation of what our outcomes are, our legacies are, not what everyone wants from us.
Right. It's reclaiming your value. You're taking your value away from the validation of others, right?
Mhm.
It's your value, not their validation.
Yeah.
And that's what she's showing us, right? She is giving us this beautiful gift, And as an example of the power of the pivot,
Yeah.
Black women specifically, we are just, if you start going down this path, then you just have to keep going down this path. Well, I made that decision and now I have to live with it. No, you made the decision with the information that you had at that time, and it made sense in that moment. And you know what? Seasons change, people grow, different circumstances come into play, and then you get to change your decision. You
Yeah.
get to pivot. And
Yeah.
she is truly being a beautiful example of what it means to pivot. I
Yeah.
had this one experience. That experience worked a decade ago. I have now had all of this learning and education over the past 10 years, and I am ready to pivot how I want to engage working within my company.
Mm-hmm. I think it's amazing that, in the example of Lisa and many other people who, you know, there is this ageist idea that when you reach 40, you should have this decision set and it's in stone. It's going on the tombstone, and 50 and 60, that you only get to make great, brave decisions when you're in your 20s and 30s. When you get to a certain point, you need to sit down and be stable, right? And
Mm,
stability looks like making everyone else feel okay with how you move. It's like
that part. That's not stable.
that's not
That's not stability at all for you. That's stable for other people,
yes, yes,
but my stability shouldn't be measured by what you think you're most comfortable with.
yes.
And if we're going to be completely honest, our brains aren't fully formed until we're in our late 20s. So that
No,
means all my great decisions need to come while I'm still figuring out who I am. It wasn't until my 40s I started to figure out who I actually was.
yeah.
And then I could, from all those lessons I'd learned for the past, 2, 3 decades, figure out who I want to be and what I want to do now. And
Hmm.
people ask me now, like, well, what do you want to do? Or what are you doing now? I'm like, well, in this particular season of my life, I'm
Hmm.
doing this. In
I
this
love that.
particular season of my life, I'm working in this industry. The
Yes.
through line I have with all of my different careers, all the different industries I've worked in, is supporting and helping people.
Hmm.
But how that plays out and what that looks like is going to change depending on the season.
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Joyful, rested, happy, full. That's what I want.
Yes, yes.
In terms of these careers,
Yeah. And I'll
mm-mm,
even go to location because I'll say 4 years ago when we moved to LA, it was a God move. My husband and I knew it. We moved our entire family here with two kids, the dog. I'm pretty sure now that I hear people's questions, I realize how bizarre it looked to them then, because now the questions that have come up is like, do you think you'll move back to New York, New Jersey after the kids graduate from high school? And I'm like, what in the world? Why would we do that? Like, but it tells me their questions indicate to me their perspective on the move and what they thought it was about and the why behind it. And so even misunderstanding how families make
mm-hmm.
pivots and how choices that mothers can make don't always have to wrap around the outcome or the best interest of children. Not all the time. Us
Well,
choosing
yeah.
us choosing a new uh, market was a gift to all of us, but it was not for the advantage of my children being in a certain zip code or any of those things. So when I hear those questions and it comes from people that I know dearly who know me well, I understand that people are constantly getting to know you. They're constantly getting
Mm-hmm,
to understand your decision style. They're constantly getting to know your faith. They're constantly getting to
mm-hmm.
know your trust and your leaps and your DNA. You can know people for years and they still not know because everyone's evolving. They're constantly getting to know. And every time we pivot, we get to reinforce who we are and what we're about, you know?
Absolutely. And even as you're naming that, the two things that came up for me, one was them asking those questions is more of an indication of where they feel comfort and where they feel discomfort. It actually has nothing to do with you. It is about their own comfort and discomfort with familiar and what's unfamiliar. Our
Mhm.
brains like to stick with what's familiar, even with people around us. So if you start doing something that seems unfamiliar to me, what does that mean about me and my experience? We
Yeah,
turn that inward. And so the questions are to better understand because this feels unfamiliar.
yeah,
Separately, just because you move your children to a different zip code is the holistic um uh, let me see, what is it, the like the nucleus of the family, the foundation of the family happier? Well, no matter where those kids are, then the kids are going to be better off.
yeah.
It's these external things that we add to it that are completely irrelevant if you're looking at your situation. So it sounds like you did what was best for your kids and your family in that season. And I now have someone to come visit in LA. So,
You know you
there's
do.
that.
And what I realized is, and I think I want every great girlfriend to know, and you know this as well, um, we don't owe explanations to anyone for anything. People are
Mhm,
welcome to observe. They're welcome to analyze and assess in their own props of their own homes and their own chats. But we don't owe, and I had to decide that in this
mhm,
new season. I don't.
mhm,
I was, appalled by the questions, but and then after that, I was like, I don't owe a response to this.
mm. Your curiosity around this is not actually, it's none of my business.
None of my business.
It
You
is
can
none
keep
of my
exploring
business.
that. Let me know where you land. But for every great girlfriend, we have to stop explaining and think that we need to have a comms meeting and a justification for what happens or how we respond in crisis to our decision making. We have to be confident in our moves and know if I make a new
Yeah,
choice, it is validation to who I am, what my faith looks
yeah.
like. It is, I don't have to hold a meeting on a press conference about that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to give people, any justifications to why I am
Mm-hmm.
moving this way, right? Isn't that part of the pivot is having the confidence to know that you don't you need to explain because when you think you have to explain something, the back of your head says, "I'll do it later," because I know I'm gonna have a backlash because I know I got to explain this to my mama. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the family's gonna panic. Like friends are gonna.
Yes.
So let me put. So we delay these pivots because part of the time we don't want to displease people.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's this interesting thing that Black women hold specifically, where it's like when we make a decision in one part of our life, it is not just one part of our life. It impacts so many other areas of our life. Like, yes, we hold particular roles and positions in our professional lives, but in our personal lives, we are also maybe the strong friend, the fixer, the go-to, the person that holds the family, dynamics together. There are so many other roles that we play that impact some of these decisions that we make, that it isn't just a one isolated decision. It does impact so many other pieces. And
Yeah.
so we get to say, you know what? I'm going to make this decision. Yes, it will have these ripple effects. No, it is not my business how you respond to it. And I will offer this to you. Almost like if you do like in the press conferences where like, I will take 3 questions. Now, if you would like to better understand how you can help me in this season, let's
Yes.
chat about that.
Yes. That
Like
part.
this, and if you need me, so you can answer some of those questions and still hold a boundary in that, because if people are used to you being a certain way, by nature be like, you okay, is everything good, what's happening, what's going on here? And you can say, I'm making this decision, I am happy with this decision, or I'm a little up in the air about this decision. This is what I need from you as support.
Yeah.
This is what support will look like for me as I'm making this decision, as I'm moving through this transition. If you can offer that, great. Let's stay in communication and work on this piece together. If you cannot offer that, you can sit right there on the sideline, and when it's time for you to get called back into the game, you can. But we get to set that boundary around that as well, because not all decisions make complete sense to us. Sometimes we stepping out on faith and a prayer to make a thing happen, and we
Yeah.
do need our community to support us. The
Yeah.
thing we forget to do is name that. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm moving into this thing right now. What I need from you more than your questions is your support. This is what support looks like for me.
That's so good. That's so good. I love that. Um, I feel like, so many of people in our life, it's easier for them to partner with fear, right? It's easy for people to gather around fear and go, what now? What next? What do we do? How? And have that panic and create a space and sense that is certainty for a lot of people to create that.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder for people to partner in faith because that forces them to hit an edge they've never hit before. They've got to imagine a frontier they've never seen before. But that's
Mm-hmm.
how we move women forward.
Yes.
That's how so I want to know from you a couple of things you think are essential for women who are in the middle of a pivot. There are a lot of women who are listening to this show right now who have been forced into a pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate
Mm-hmm.
transitions, lots of
Mm-hmm.
downsizing, shifting of titles and releasing of entire departments. I heard a woman say on Saturday, whole government broken. That's what she said. And I
Broke. It's just
broken.
broken.
They didn't broke the
It's
government.
out of order. They
As
done
if it
broke
was
the
ever
government.
fixed, as if it was ever struck, but it's real broke now. So, so how do we pivot? Give us a couple of keys,
Mm.
to knowing that it's time to pivot, or how we make a pivot that feels good to us and right to us.
So I would first start with saying most of us that think it's time for a pivot already know it's time for a pivot. The thing that's causing the pause is the fear around the how to pivot. It's the fear around the how to pivot, and it's the grieving your current circumstance. I think
Ooh,
a lot with everything that's happening right now, a lot of us are going, "What am I going to do next? How do I do this?" You also get to grieve that this situation or whatever you're in right now is not what you wanted, especially if you're in a forced pivot. You get to grieve for a moment. And before everyone goes into the, if I start crying now, I won't stop. And I don't have time for that. You do. Because if you don't start feeling your feelings around the pivot, you'll never actually heal enough so you can be clear as you need to be around what that pivot needs to look like for you. And so first I would say give yourself permission to grieve that this is not the circumstance that you want to be in.
that's good. Hmm.
Start there because we also don't allow ourselves to have that.
That's really good.
Grieve,
Hmm.
pause and grieve.
Hmm.
And then the second piece of that is really start from an so there's an emotional perspective and there's a practical perspective, right? The emotional perspective is really start thinking about where your value lies and just, have a conversation. Where have I always put my value? And I want you to get curious about that. And this is for all my fellow type A and my fellow recovering perfectionists. Get curious, don't judge. Where has my value? Where have I always put my value? Where do I put my value in? Like make a list of it if you need to. And then I want you to ask yourself a question. Where did I learn that? Who taught me that?
Girl.
Because you are going to learn that most of the things that we have put value to have been imprinted on us. And then you get to start thinking about, well, now what do I want to replace it with?
Hmm.
And so, from an emotional perspective, you start to reframe what value looks like to you, for you, specifically curated for you. And now I'm naming this. This is not a microwave solution. This will take time because I didn't give you a way to fix it, right? I just said, get curious about where you think your value lies, who told you that, and now what do you want to replace it with? Now,
Hmm.
just because you say you want to replace it, don't mean you're going to be replacing it in the next day. You just now have a roadmap of what you can work on, right? That's
Hmm.
the emotional component of it. So then you can start reclaiming your value. And you're like, I'm valuable just because I did this. That's why. That's why I'm valuable.
Hmm.
And so you lean into that piece of it emotionally. The practical side of it, because I'm not one of those just, breathe and manifest. I believe in those things, but also bills come every month. They are very rude and they are very needy in that way. And so
Yes.
the emotional side of it is start to really unpack where your value lies and where you want to reframe that. The practical side of that is look for a role or something that can be a part-time temporary type of thing. I like to call them your rebound job, right? In relationships, we get it. You'd be like, that relationship was hard. I'm gonna be in a little rebound thing right now and just kind
Uh-huh.
of step my foot back in there and see what it's like, just to kind
Uh-huh.
of test the waters.
Uh-huh. I
Your
call them
next
seat
job,
fillers.
yes, let your
You
next
know, in
seat
the award
filler,
show, they have a seat filler.
yes,
Yeah, you're a seat filler. That's a seat filler.
you're a seat filler.
Yeah.
But know that because I
Yeah.
think we put so much pressure on like my next job has to be X, it has to be no, the next job needs to get the bills paid. And it needs to be something honestly where you maybe do a little bit less so
Hmm.
you can work on protecting your peace. So
Hmm.
you can work on the value and emotional side of it. So I'm
Hmm.
not saying don't pay attention to the bills and stuff like that because we don't have the privilege of that, especially with all the roles and hats that we have as Black women.
Hmm.
But think about what you can do to maybe pull back, do a little bit less, so your value can you can lean into more where your value actually lies. And if that feels uncomfortable, then that's already giving you an answer right there. If it
Yeah.
feels uncomfortable for your value to not be in your output and your productivity and transactional, you're already getting your answer. But
Hmm.
again, I know that is simple, but it is not easy.
Yeah. So then give us, if you were to assign an affirmation to that experience or that period of pivoting, what is an affirmation that you could lend to a woman who's listening right now?
Mm. The first thing that comes to my mind is I am okay. It not some big fancy. I just the thing that just comes to my heart is I'm okay. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to say it a little afraid. I'm okay. I'm okay. It's okay. Everything's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because from that okay is I have had hard moments before and I've gotten through hard moments before. I have had to make tough decisions before. I have made tough decisions before. I have come out on the other side of things that I did not opt into. I am still here. I am still breathing. I am okay. And this is another situation that too will pass
Mm-hmm.
because nothing is permanent. I am okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You have you've really outlined so many important and I don't know, essential indicators. I even think about, and when you talk about grief and so many things, and I'll be quick about this, but we learn about grief. We forget that grief is not just about the physical passing of a person, but it is about
Right.
a transition, a shift, a choice. And I had to own, even last year, that I was guilty of grieving my New York, New Jersey life. I'm in a beautiful LA. I mean, LA's wonderful. I have wonderful community. The best. I mean, like amazing community in LA. Like I am blessed and I'm honored to have so many great people in our village, but I
Mhm.
wasn't fully vested in life here because I was busy looking back at like, oh my God, but my New York, New Jersey people are just, and just life there and the weather and the seasons. You guys don't have all the things that I was
Mhm.
guilty of grieving, even though this pivot was our choice
Yeah.
there's still a grief that was attached to it. And so there are people who are having to make new choices and you feel great about those choices, but grief will come and it will sit on your shoulder just to remind you that there was a past that may have that felt more certain than the future that you're walking into. And so I want to encourage people to lock into what you said about that, about the grief piece, because I think it's worthy of heavy evaluation, even in
Yeah. Grief
friendships,
is
even in romantic relationships, neighborhoods,
absolutely.
you know, government, because people are like,
Yes.
remember when?
Yes.
A lot of grief
Grief
in our citizenship right now.
grief shows up anytime something you expected did not happen.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
get to grieve it.
Yeah.
You get to give yourself permission to, and sometimes grief will be as simple as I expected this extra sauce in my to go food and they didn't put it in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh,
I'm mad. They
I'm
normally make it this
mad.
way. They didn't make it this.
Right. And now they made it this way. And
Yeah.
then it can be, I'm not sure I made the right decision and I'm leaning into this thing. You have to allow yourself to feel those things because if you don't, it will limit your ability to see what's next.
Yeah. You
It
know
will
what's so
completely
big
limit
about
that.
that too is when you are making these pivots, one thing that we want to do as women, and we've probably been conditioned to say, feel later, move now, feel later,
Mm.
move
And our power is in our
is
feeling.
our feeling. So if we're
Our
moving,
actual
yeah.
superpower is our feeling.
Yes, and we're telling ourselves, you make the move, but feel it later because you got to keep moving. No, you can feel and move at the same time and
You
feel
can.
anchored in knowing that you were able to express all of who you are. And I think that's the best, the most respect we can give to ourselves as women is that we belong in a feeling space. Like that's healthy for us. We don't have to stabilize in negative feelings, but we do need to know that our feelings are valid. We need to feel and experience in our pivot instead of saying, I'm going to feel later. I'll wait till
Right.
after I'm done pivoting. We're never done pivoting.
You're never done. As long as you're breathing, you're pivoting. And give yourself permission to feel multiple things at the same time.
Yeah.
It can all be true. Like,
Yes.
especially for right
Yes.
now, personally, in certain areas of my life, I feel so much deep joy. I feel so
Mm.
much joy and so much gratitude and so much happiness. And then I turn and look at other parts of what's happening in the world and with people I care about, and I am enraged.
Yeah.
Like I am, I am
Absolutely.
enraged. I
Yeah.
am enraged.
Yeah.
And all of that can be true.
And that's one
There
heart.
is no,
Holding. Yeah.
yes, yes, that
Yes.
the Inside Out, that movie, The Inside Out, like
Yes.
you have all the emotions on the
Yes.
console. That's true.
Old
And
Skittle
so,
bag. Yeah. Every
yes,
color of
the
emotion.
full Skittle bag. I love it. I love it. And so I think sometimes we think, well, I can't feel this and this. Yes, you can. And I think that's where we weren't taught like all these things can sit in the same place at the same time. They can all have space at the same time. And so
Yeah.
when we start to feel what we think is conflicting emotions, we just shut it all down.
Yeah.
You're like, no, 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 no. You can feel it all. You
Hmm.
can feel because it's going to ebb and flow. But give yourself, if nothing else, give yourself the gift of feeling.
Oh my goodness, that's so good. So good. Ah, you gotta come back. You know that, right? You
I would love to. I
know,
love to. So many more things I want to talk
we are not done here, but you know you
about.
have to come back. Where can thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I am so honored to just have this time with you to get to know you better and to invite you back because we have so many other things we need to explore. And I think you're the perfect pairing for some of these topics. Um,
Oh.
I appreciate you. Great girlfriends, I know you're wondering where to find her and like how to learn more, how to explore her content or programs, just dive into her
Yes.
universe. So where can they find you?
You can find me on IG. It's just my name, Aseanté Renee. It's very simple. I got a very eclectic kind of name, so I just keep it. That's the only handle I needed. So it's just my name on the social media spaces on those platforms. My website is Axon Group, the Axon Group Inc. .com. You can go to retiringsuperwoman.com and look at some of the information, some of the stuff that we're doing. If you've ever had a superwoman in your life, I know you have because we all have. Would love if you could donate to that because all the events we do for Retiring Superwoman and for the Susu House are completely free. We
Mm.
do not charge anything for any of those events. Because again, I don't believe that finances should be a barrier to people's healing. So all of that is completely free. So anytime you are donating, you are pouring into a retiring superwoman. So
I
yeah.
love that. Thank you so much, Ashante, for being here with me. I'm 10 years into this podcast and this community, and to be in the top 1% has been a gift and a privilege only because I've had guests like you to continue to
Oh,
jump on the mic and just come in and offer insights and support to nurture our great girlfriend community. So for 10 years of this and many more years to come, I want to thank you
yes.
for jumping in and being a
Thank
part of our
you.
community, our village, on behalf of all the great girlfriends who will listen to this and our Facebook group and our Instagram community. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for
And
having me.
keep
It's an
keep
honor.
being amazing. That is my command to you. All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _great GFS. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.